As Week 7 of the NFL season wraps up, we have seen lots of key players have come up with injuries in both the AFC and the NFC regions. From Joe Burrow's preseason calf injury to Saquon Barkley's ankle sprain in Week 2, this 2023 season has seen over 350 injuries before Week 8. These injuries range from season-ending to day-to-day endings. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night, where we dive into the NFL injury report. My name is Cora Rodriguez, and I am alongside Ashley, Mascaro, and Joey David. During the 2023 season, we have seen a multitude of injuries. Joey, talk about the common injuries during a typical NFL season and why there's so many players being hurt.
So the biggest thing that I see when I look at all the injuries that are piling up this year is the turf. And there's been so many non-contact injuries where players are just sliding on the turf. And I even discussed that earlier in February when I talked about the horrible conditions on the Super Bowl turf. They were slipping around everywhere, as you said. They had to change cleats. And the NFL's been having a lot of problems with turf this year. I know the Jets are getting new turf because people kept getting injuries. Thankfully, no one got severely injured in this game during the because of the turf. But this was a problem, and for the biggest sporting event probably in the world, to have field conditions that bad is a problem in the NFL. So I think turf might just have to have run its course in the NFL. You see all these different types where you have MetLife, where they had the split turf, and people were getting caught in it. And then there's other types of turf where people are slipping. Hassan Reddick even said during the Super Bowl, like, that was the worst turf he has ever played on. The other thing is, though, the NFL is trying to get away from hitting everybody in the head. They don't want the concussions. They don't want players to have CTE anymore, which obviously perfectly understandable. You don't want that to happen. But it's forcing the NFL players to go low. And with that, along with the turf and having players get wrapped up, you're seeing a trend of a lot more lower body injuries, especially to the legs, where you see the ligaments just getting turned and torn in just not the correct ways.
Yeah, I mean, Joey, to go off of that, like, the big one that I see this year is the Achilles. There have been, I mean, you could see on the graphic and stuff, there are a million Achilles injuries this year. And I'm wondering, too, like, are they just not focusing on the lower part of the body because everyone's so worried about concussions? Like, look at, like, Tua Tagovailoa last year. Like, are they just focusing on that because it's, like, more prominent now? I don't know. Well, in my opinion, the Achilles injuries are the new ACL tears that we've seen in the past. There is actually a new surgery that came out. It's called the Speed Bridge, where there is an internal brace, like, placed inside of the Achilles, and it's hoping to just not speed up recovery necessarily, but it could do that. It is just to stabilize it so it isn't as prone to being torn whenever it's being stretched. And Aaron Rodgers, who tore his Achilles week 1 of this season with the Jets, he got that surgery. And he's already, like, full ahead of recovery. Like, that's really, really good. So I'm wondering, as we see more of these injuries come up in the future, because it's probably not going to stop, are players going to opt for this Speed Bridge surgery? I'm not really sure what they're going to do.
Now, the NFL has seen a lot of important players out this year. And Ashley, what are some impactful players that have really just been out on injury and have just changed the course of the team's success?
Yeah, Cora, like you said, there are a lot of players that have been injured. And of course, some players are kind of like, they don't affect the team as much in the nicest way. But sometimes there's a player that is a really, really big deficit to a team when they lose it. And one of them, for me, is Kyler Murray. Now, Kyler Murray has had, like, not the best NFL career so far, but he was drafted in 2020, but in 2021, he went 7-0 the first 7 games. And then they ended up being 11-6. That's the best Cardinals record they've seen in a long time. Now, he went 3-8 last year before getting hurt, and obviously that's not great and stuff like that, but they are really struggling this year. They are 1-6, and they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. J.J. Watt retired, so big names in them are gone. And you have Josh Dobbs, who's a quarterback, and he's been with multiple teams, so clearly he's not the best option as a quarterback. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, are they going to look for someone else? Because this record, it can't continue for them. And even if Kyler Murray does come back, which it's looking like he will in the next couple weeks, they're not going to have any playoff chances if they don't make some type of change. So even though Kyler Murray is not the strongest quarterback, at least on paper, he is definitely a key player to the Cardinals offense right now.
I completely agree, and I think the Cardinals really do value what they have in Kyler Murray. But I'm going to go to someone that is truly valued by their team, and that's Nick Chubb. His injury has really changed the way the Browns run their offense. Nick Chubb had 170 yards in 2 games before he got injured. He's still second on the team. The Browns have now moved over to running back by committee, and with Deshaun Watson's new injury that honestly we don't know how they're handling because Deshaun Watson says one thing, Stefanski says another thing to the media. We're not sure how healthy Deshaun Watson truly is. With him either playing hurt or having PJ Walker in the game, they have to put so much more pressure on those running backs, and the running backs just aren't doing as good of a job as it would have been if Nick Chubb hadn't been injured.
Now on the flip side, Joey, what are some non-impactful players out on injury?
Now, non-impactful is very, very strong to say about this one. Aaron Rodgers' injury had a very huge impact. Let me say that right now, Jets fans, please don't kill me. But what's most important is that the New York Jets are still finding ways to win. Everybody thought after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles on, again, another non-contact injury, everybody thought the season was over. They were ready to tank, just get a good pick, and just hope that Zach Wilson doesn't make this season unwatchable. And the games have been anything else. The games have just been... The Jets have had 3 of the most watched games this year, and the Jets have been in on all the games. Yes, a bunch of that credit goes to the defense, but Zach Wilson has been able to work through the run game, work through the pass game, and deliver great throws that NFL scouts saw in him that got him drafted to 2nd overall, which is why I believe Aaron Rodgers' injury isn't affecting the Jets as much as people think it is.
Yeah, Joey, I have to agree with you. I'll be curious to see next season, especially with how well Zach Wilson is doing right now. If Aaron Rodgers does decide not to retire and to return to the Jets next year, I'll be interested to see how well he does compared to Zach Wilson this year. Because I really am surprised, honestly. I don't really think there's another word for it. I'm just surprised. But I'm going to move over to the Chicago Bears. Now, Chicago was ranked number 32 in the NFL for several weeks, and then eventually they started winning some games, and that was good. So they moved up and stuff like that. But Justin Fields got hurt 2 weeks ago. He has a sprained finger, and, I don't really know if that's the worst thing for the Bears right now because, yes, Justin Fields gets a lot of fantasy points for fantasy lovers. Yes, he runs and scores rushing touchdowns all the time. But that's not a quarterback's position. That is a running back's position. So you lost David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert is injured now. And you now have Deontay Foreman, who this past weekend had a great game with 3 touchdowns. Do you really need a running quarterback like a Lamar Jackson type? No, you don't. You need someone who is not going to get 24 sacks in a game in the season so far through 4 games. Like, that's not very good. And he's had over half the amount of interceptions he has had touchdowns. So I think with having Tyson Bagent as a starter, I'm Tyson Bagent, but as a starter right now, it seems like the Chicago Bears are going upward because they've already won the same amount of games with him as they have with Justin Fields. So I'm starting to think that losing Justin Fields right now is not the worst thing for the Bears.
I'm going to slightly disagree there. I don't think Justin Fields is truly the issue, but he's definitely not helping out their situation.
As Week 8 fastly approaches, it would be interesting to see what player is next for the injury report and see how certain games turn out due to injuries. But for now, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Penn State Sports Night, and follow us on our social media for more updates on not only the injury report, but more NFL coverage throughout the 2023-2024 season. For Ashley Mascaro and Joey David, I'm Cora Rodriguez signing off.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, and follow our socials down below.
And as always, we are
Penn State Sports Night.